Where's James?
You smothered him.
Oh yeah, he's dead. Oh, look, a time portal.
Hello, and welcome to Real Opinions.
How is he here?
Today we're going to be discussing our favourite anti-heroes.
Yes! All three of them.
All three of each of ours.
Yeah, 3 each.
Harrison, you start, because you're going to have the longest round.
Okay, for my third place I went with someone that I really like, Andrew Dentmer from Chronicle, who I think the reason
Do you want to just say who plays him?
Yeah, I have no idea who this is.
Okay, so Chronicle, which is a film that a lot of people have heard of, regardless of whether you have.
I love
it. It's a found footage superhero film.
Right.
That it follows this kid around called Andrew Dentmer, who's kind of, the way I kind of sort of saw it is he's a bullied kid. It's kind of a bit like if you could imagine like the Columbine massacre if the kid had superpowers. Because
that's a really good way of putting it.
He's bullied and he's abused and he kind of gets darker and darker as the film goes along. But you kind of remain sympathetic to him because at first he is a nice kid he's got an abusive father, he's bullied at school, he's got a sick mother. And I think the reason I like him so much is because he's a great anti-hero and a great superhero, not superhero, supervillain. And so you're mixing the thing I like with dark characters with superpowers, which is awesome. And he uses his powers in a really slick, cool way sometimes.
And he's Dane DeHaan.
And he's Dane DeHaan, who I really like. He's like a young, sickly-looking Leonardo DiCaprio.
Harrison's in love with Dane DeHaan.
My first choice is Ryan Gosling in Drive, the driver. He's one of these kind of like Liam Neeson. He has a very particular set of skills, but he doesn't boast about those skills, and he doesn't like break people's legs constantly and kind of go around beating up an entire army of Russian mobsters.
He's quite controlled.
Exactly, and every now and again, when you see him commit an act of violence, it's kind of like the monster inside has been unleashed. And he's Ryan Gosling. I mean, he's fucking adorable. He's just got kind of that look that he could stand there and just stare at someone for ages and still be.
My third place choice is going to be Leon from Leon.
The
Is
Professional.
it Leon or Leon?
I thought it was
I
Leon.
think they say
There's
Leon,
an accent.
but they
Oh,
say
it's
Leon
Leon.
in the film.
Well, they're wrong. So yeah, he's a cool, composed killing machine. He's an assassin, and obviously that's kind of what makes him a villain in that he does these sort of cold acts without any kind of consideration for it. But he takes in a young girl and kind of looks after her, and it's maybe there's a bit of a sort of
Well, he has the
pedophile
mindset of
undertone
a
there.
child, though.
But yeah, exactly, and so there's this sensitive side to him, and that comes through as well. So
And the plant. Don't forget about the plant.
and the plant.
So I'm just going to pick this one half because he's quite funny and half because it will annoy Harrison. But Captain Jack Sparrow.
He's not funny! What do you mean he's funny? When was he funny? When he did that voice for about 5 minutes before it became fucking annoying? Was that when it was funny, Jack? It's not funny. It's not funny. What were you saying about him earlier? That he's probably tired of playing Jack Sparrow by now?
He probably is.
No, he's not as tired as I am of seeing him, of hearing about him. I can guarantee he's not as tired as I am of Jack Sparrow. Not funny, he's not cool, he's annoying, and I really like, we just want to make a film of Jack Sparrow because he's the most popular character, get rid of the others. That was the problem with the other film. No, he's part of the problem. He's part of the problem, and then he's fucking Tonto, and he's the same character but with a fucking stupid accent and a fucking bird on his hat. No, Jack.
Breathe. And breathe.
Harrison's in love with Johnny Depp.
Well,
Should we
people
move
don't
on?
understand my art. They do understand it, it's just shit, Johnny.
Jack, do you want to even try and defend that?
I just wanted to see him.
I can't remember who my number 2 is. I think it's Tyler Durden, because he's cool.
My pick for number 2 is the Crimson Bolt from my favourite movie, Super. And I know he's kind of supposedly a hero, but he is... the bare bones of it is he's a vigilante. The only thing that separates him from Charles Bronson in Death Wish is the fact that he's wearing a costume. At the end of the day, he is doing what he thinks is right, but also what he thinks is right is pulling people up on cutting in line and smashing their faces to pieces.
Maybe this is slightly more controversial because you could say he's just a complete bastard. Hannibal Lecter is my number 2.
No, I'd argue
So
for that.
charming.
He kills innocent
He
guys.
does.
He kills innocent guards and takes
get
their
other
faces
serial
off.
killers.
He doesn't help,
Exactly.
though. All he does is
No, but he
vague
does.
advice. It's really vague. It's
But
just
he's
like,
likeable.
He's so charming.
He is
He's just
likeable,
so
so's the
charming.
Joker,
Very
though.
likeable.
So's Gary Oldman in
Oh,
Leon.
but
You can
he's
call them.
not as charming as Hannibal Lecter. He's so
Really?
cultured. Yeah.
I
And
think
if
Joker's
you
charming.
single him out in
Joker's
Silence of the
charming.
Lambs, he's not the antagonist.
He's not the antagonist. It doesn't mean he's not. Doesn't mean he's an anti-hero, though.
But I wouldn't go the full way and say he's a villain. Because like we said earlier, he does kind of help out with the case.
How? He doesn't do
does.
anything.
He does.
He gives really vague advice, like, "Oh, he's a killer. You should look for people who kill."
He's great, and I love him, and he's my number 2 anti-hero.
There you go.
The hatchet is buried.
Go on, Jack.
Yeah, go on, Jack. Let's see what you can come out with this time.
Oh, I'm going to pick something that Harrison likes because I'm going to pick Lewis Bloom from Nightcrawler.
Oh,
Which, although I'm like, it's not
I
my top,
approve of
it's
this
not my
message.
top 3 of all time. But like, it's just because it's the strongest in recent memory. He was just one of the most interesting characters in all of the Oscar films this year. And he
Definitely.
was, even though he was psychotic, basically, you got into his mindset, and I quite like that.
Gyllenhaal was robbed. Now number 1.
My number 1 is I kind of think he's probably the definitive anti-hero. It's Travis Bickle, who he's the first
From
person.
the Taxi Driver.
Yeah, from Taxi Driver. Sorry, yeah. He's the first person that I think of when I think of an anti-hero because he, again, like the Crimson Bolt, he's doing. In fact, I think the Crimson Bolt is kind of like Travis Bickle, but in a mask.
He's supposed to be kind of a mixture of Travis Bickle and some other.
But yeah, he does what he thinks is right, but what he thinks is right is not right at all. But you kind of get on board with what he's thinking because everything is shown through his perspective. So you see New York through his eyes and you see it as this threatening place that he has to fight against. And so you understand, even though you know you shouldn't.
And I would say, also, further justifying it, the whole Vietnam War thing.
Yeah,
terms
you
of
get
the
again. You
context,
get
yeah.
some sympathy for him because he's in this post-Vietnam and post-Watergate context where, like,
Yeah.
well, you can't blame him for being angry at things.
Yeah. Angry young man.
My number 1 is, you know, when you said whenever you think about anti-hero, you jump straight to Travis Bickle. Whenever I think about anti-heroes, I always jump straight to the Punisher.
Yeah,
I always
that's
kind
what it
of think of the Thomas Jane version just because that was
better.
the film. It's arguably the best out of the 3 films there's been.
It's not arguably.
Well,
it is
yeah,
the
it
best.
is the best.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like Warzone, which I don't
It's
quite
because it's got
understand.
quite a lot of violence. I quite like the violence.
Warzone is ridiculously violent, but I feel like the Tom Jane Punisher is kind of the
best.
the definitive one. That's the word.
Yeah, okay.
And Frank Castle was just, I mean, it's
Defining chapter.
Yes. And Frank Castle's just this guy who you can understand where he's coming from. In the same way
Yeah.
Travis Bickle's been kind of let down by society and everything, Frank Castle has had his entire family murdered in front of him in a kind of
And
falling
it's
down
I think it's
style.
nice that he's not like a Batman where he kind of like, I'm angry, but he's always like holding back. He's like, I'm angry, I'm going to kill people.
Exactly.
I'm just going
And
to act it out.
What's
with
always
vengeance.
amused me, and I'm really looking forward to see if Marvel Studios actually bring him in. Hopefully they'll do a Netflix series or something, because Daredevil's proven that there is a dark kind of side to that sort of stuff. But my favourite part of the Punisher himself is just how unapologetic he is, like you said.
Hey, my number 1, he's a misogynist. He's a
James's
murderer.
idol!
He's a murderer. And he's an outright bastard. He's Patrick Bateman. But he's just so great.
It was the most Alan Partridge a serial killer I've ever heard.
That's the thing, I was never on board with Patrick Bateman.
Why?
I found him funny, but I didn't get on his side. I wasn't like, yeah, you go murder those people.
Oh, no, because the people
complete have his back.
That is true, actually. Jared Leto is a proper
Yeah,
twat.
that-
You do
yeah,
want
that
him
is my
acting
favourite.
there.
He's just badass.
Fair enough.
You're following the Huey Lewis and music, the second favourite, where he gets the business card and they're just all comparing the business cards and he's freaking out over the fonts.
Yeah.
That's a Jack thing.
He's gonna
It's
do
like
it.
weighing the paper.
Right, Jack, who's your number 1?
My number 1, it's the family-friendly anti-hero. It's Han Solo.
Yeah.
Aw.
He's
Yeah,
like,
it's
he
the
is,
family-friendly,
I know we
isn't
keep
it?
saying the definite, but he is very much, he's like the
He is.
original anti-hero.
Yeah.
White shirt,
Kind of.
black.
Well, Taxi Driver was
You
first.
were there.
Well, yeah,
Taxi Driver.
but Han Solo
So
is like,
mine would be the
not a
original.
lot of people have,
He's the
more
first
people have
like,
seen Han Solo.
popular culture anti-hero.
Exactly,
I'd say.
yeah.
He's
And
like
the one that's
he's
lasted the
what
longest.
Captain
Yeah.
Jack Sparrow wishes he was.
And he's coming back.
You
I
can
say
argue
that.
with that, and it's what a lot of characters now are modelled off of him.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And we get to see him again in November or December. In December.
December.
And I'm very excited about
I'm
they're home.
really excited about that. Yeah.
They are. They're home.
I guess that's a quote from the trailer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
no,
Jack, I'm sorry.
Oh no, we've
Oh.
spoiled everything for you.
No, I've heard the quote.
Okay,
I
okay,
haven't
right.
heard them say it.
I feel like
Uh,
less of a cock now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for watching.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
watching.
James is back.
James is back now. He's less dead.
Yeah.
From the past.